take a look around the country. We're going to see what properties are hitting our newspapers, and we're joined by Nathan from News Corp in our CBD studio. Welcome, Nathan. Good to see you.
Hi, Chris.
Now, we kind of stuffed up the property last week. We showed a beautiful property in Bronte, and then we had some mixed images, so hopefully we can get it right this time. Do you want to start again and tell us about property number one?
Yeah, property number one, Chris, is an iconic property, the Shell House in Bronte at 136 Hewlett Street in Bronte, brought to the market by Deleen Lewis from Lang & Simmons, Double Bay. And this is a property, Chris, as you'll see the photos come through, location, elevation, privacy, incredible views over Bronte. And if you're looking for something unique, if you're a buyer out there and you want something special, well, this is without doubt the property for you, Chris. Incredible architecture, wonderful design, the curved walls, the timber feature, a generous internal floor plan as you flick through the photos, 4 levels. But what's unique, Chris, 4-car garaging in the eastern suburbs, incredible 4-car garaging. It's got lift access to all levels, and for the James Bond fans, as we said last week, it's got a little hideaway gym, so no doubt that will tick the box. And walking distance to everything. You can walk to the beach, elevated water views, only the finest, fittings and fixtures internally. And this one, Chris, goes to auction on the 23rd of May. And in terms of pricing, I spoke to Deleen. Now, she sold the one next door for $15.65 million, and that was a suburb record at the time. And if you can get this one, Chris, between 10 and 11 million, it'd be fantastic buying.
Now, I don't know if I've got that budget, but I certainly love the eastern suburbs and the 4-car garage, so maybe I'll have to avoid Deleen's calls over the next few weeks to make sure I don't get a phone call about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and number two?
Number two is number 286 Old South Head Road in Watsons Bay, brought to the market by Danny Bernardo and Mark Goldman from Rain and Horn, Double Bay. And this is the classic, Chris, good properties don't last long. I got on good news today that the property has actually sold, but if you see the photos, you can understand why. It's got picture postcard views of not just the city skyline, Chris, but the Harbour Bridge and the type of property that on New Year's Eve you don't need to hassle your way down to the Sydney Harbour to watch the show. You can sit there from the comfort of your own backyard and watch the New Year's Eve fireworks. Large open doors. It's got a great floor plan. It brings the inside outside, as you can probably see through the photos. And this property, well, it was heavily promoted. I think we had full pages through the Wentworth Courier on this one. And as you can see by the pics, a wonderful property, but it has actually sold. But if you want something like this, I'm sure if you talk to Danny or you talk to Mark, they might be able to find another one like this for you.
Now, I'm not sure if we can release the price or the price range, but certainly it tells you a lot about the market in that Watsons Bay area if properties of these kind of value are selling before auction.
That's right, true.
Okay, and number three?
The number 3 properties, we go down to Hobart for this one. This is number 419 Liverpool Street in West Hobart, brought to the market by Kim Morgan from Charlotte Peters Wold for property. And this property, Chris, it's got size, it's got space, it's got views. It's on a generous parcel of land at 1.5 hectares of subdividable land. And this has got internally 60 squares of accommodation. So it's a big home, it's a big property, incredible views. Again, as you'll see the photos coming up, elevated water views, but yet you're still only 10 minutes to the CBD of Hobart, which is quite unique. But also to the architecture, this was designed by the late Barry McNeil, who won numerous architectural awards. He was also the president of the Australian Architect Institute, and you'll probably see again through the photos, it's Japanese inspired. It's very zen, very relaxing. The use of timber also quite unique. It's all Tasmanian timber, the Tasmanian myrtle. It creates that relaxing, that calming feel. And internally, 3-car garaging, self-contained chalet, the indoor pool, all great features. And it's a pretty attractive price guide, Chris, 1.7 million, and brought to the market again by Kim Morgan.
I think if you compare anything to the Sydney property prices, then everything looks like value for money and twice or 4 times as big, doesn't it?
Very true, yeah.
Now, obviously you're in the market all the time. What's the latest things that you're hearing?
I think, Chris, we're just seeing interesting insight in terms of the apartment market and the unit market for sale. There's a lot of stock on the market in this sector. I think even in areas where stock's been pretty tight, Chris, like the eastern suburbs, if you look at the apartment stock or the unit stock last year, of the total properties for sale. There was 68% of the total stock was apartments or units. At this point in time, it's 76% of the total stock is units or apartments. And it might not sound like a lot, Chris, but that's only 200 additional properties in that apartment or unit sector, and it's pretty consistent across most areas of Sydney. In the inner west, this time last year we had 98 apartments for sale. Right now we've got 173 apartments for sale, and there's a couple of reasons that are driving this, Chris. I think investors that have been holding on to this stock, they've gone through an incredible growth cycle over the last 3 years, and I think they're realising value and a good time to trade out. And I think the other thing too, Chris, is that we're seeing a lot of new construction coming onto the market. If you drive around Sydney and you look into the air, you can't help but see the amount of cranes in the air. There's a company called Ryder, Levitt and Bucknell that have a crane index, funnily enough, and their latest report they put out in April suggested across Sydney there was 539 cranes in operation. Now 40% of these, Chris, are actually in Sydney, so there's a lot of units on the market, but there's a lot more units to hit the market. So, you know, it could be a good time for first home buyers as all this stock gets released.
Yeah, look, you've got to take a flight over Sydney or Brisbane or wherever else you are. It's well worth almost taking a chopper trip so you're not right at the plane height. And it's amazing to see how many vacant blocks of land there are they're building. We always think we're so condensed, but there's still a lot of property to be built.
So true.
Thanks for the updates, and we'll see you again.
Thanks, Chris.
Now, time for a short break, but we'll be back soon.